Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Eleanor, we've got Faye, and this is the Temeraire Book 3 live show discussion for Black Powder War. We're obviously doing, well, not obviously, I always say obviously, and I don't mean to say obviously all the time. We are doing a read along, and we've been doing one every month. This is the third book, we're going to discuss it today. Spoilers for this moment on if you've not read books 1 and 2. But you're welcome here, even if you're not joining in the read-along with us and you've read them separately. Feel free to share your thoughts with us too. Yeah, so I don't know if you what did you rate the book? It's always probably a good place to start.
I rated it 4 stars, same as I've rated the previous 2.
Yeah, so I rated it 3, same as I rated, I think I rated the book 1 4, and then that's book 2 and 3. I've now got 3 stars from me. And probably get into it more later, but for me it's like I'm interested but I just struggle with it, and then I fly through the last 100 pages. I think I'm fighting to get to the last 100 pages, and for me that's where it really gets me and I'm really enjoying it, so that's
enough to keep you going.
Yeah, because it's like a really interesting series, and I don't know if part of it's just that I'm really not a historical fantasy reader. So I don't know if it's partly that aspect of the genre that I just struggle with, and it's really, really political, and that's also not something I delve a lot into. So I think it's just a lot out of my comfort zone, and that's not a bad thing. It just means I am struggling with it, but I'm not struggling with it enough that I want to not read them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, because I'm still enjoying the experience of reading them as a group and discussing them, although I was really bad at discussing them. I think we all were this month. For this book.
I think we all have been, yeah.
We didn't have thoughts for this one as much.
The thing is I actually whizzed through it in, I think, like 3 days. So I never really, I know that we can put spoiler tags and stuff, but I never want to be that person that is just like, I'm going to fill in 6 different sections in a day. Like,
go for it though. It's because I'm bad. Obviously, I'm the complete opposite, especially for books like this when I'm struggling. You read through them in 2 days, and I literally finished it last night. That is the complete opposite end of the spectrum represented right here. If that doesn't summarize how our reading habits are, nothing else will. So definitely, because that was me. Like, I was going through and I was like, oh, what can I say about this that you guys have already touched on? And then I reply and I join in to what has already been said like a week ago. So feel free to just put everything in, and it might encourage.
I just feel bad. Like, I don't want to be that person that is just like completely domineering the whole Discord. Like, I feel like I'd feel really obnoxious. But obviously then going back and being like, oh, this part belongs to this section is difficult for me later. So if I'm not filling it in at the time, and sometimes there'll be a day where I'll have read, like, so we've got it sectioned by like every 3 chapters, but there will be days where I will read 6 chapters. So then it'll be 2 whole sections worth of I need to fill in a day.
But if you've got thoughts, definitely just fill it in the Discord. I don't think anyone else is going to mind, and it does just kind of foster conversation, because I'm sometimes not good at piecing together what I'm thinking about something, but having someone else say something gives me a sounding board and be like, oh no, that actually reminds me of this, and it starts the conversation. I'm not always good at beginning them, so maybe other people in the Discord are like that as well and just need that encouragement. But yeah, you obviously
there's a couple of us that are like clearly history nerds that were like, oh, and this battle's in there and this thing is in there, and then there were a couple of people
and
that
are like maybe it's just
shout out to Connor sticking through, but yeah.
But I think it's the obviously poor Scottish education system, because that's both Connor and I.
To be fair, mine is all self-taught. Like, the Spanish education system teaches you about what provinces there are in Spain, and that's it. So,
because
I think the historical part is probably fueling me a lot more, because I feel like those of us who are enjoying it, like the couple of us who are enjoying it, it is literally because it's like the way they've incorporated not just dragons into the Napoleonic Wars, but into the literal, not even only the politics, but into the strategies.
Yeah.
and using the dragons as a way to discuss topical things of the time.
Yeah. And I think
so
that's...
they're incorporated into the world in every facet, not just flying things.
Yeah. And that's something I also love because a lot of the time, obviously I've not read a lot of historical, but you'll know more about it than I will. I can understand that a modern writer writing it in a historical context can put modern day spins in it.
Yeah.
But I think that's how Naomi Novik is doing this, is it's the dragons that are doing that. It's not the modern day human writer's perspective and like, all the wokeness of modern day, and you're putting that into centuries ago. Like, no, this is how it is because the dragons are here. And I love how that is how she's getting around to bringing up these modern topics for discussion in a historical context that maybe wouldn't have been contemplated in that way. And I do quite like that as like a narrative driver that she's done that. I think that's like, I really enjoy the conversations that Lawrence in particular has with Temeraire and all the different parts. Like I'm getting really, that's 3 books now. I'm really, really excited about this Dragon Revolution that's coming up. Whenever that happens, like Dragon Revolution, taking over the world, liberating everyone. Like there's been a lot of chat. I'm excited to see how all that kind of evolves.
It seems like we are going to do a tour of the world first, though, because the next one's Africa.
Yeah. So
we're still not getting back to Britain.
No, but they must stop in Scotland because we finish it off.
Yeah.
As them like literally a couple of days away from touching down in Scotland.
Yeah. It's just how long do they stay there long enough for it to actually do anything?
I imagine like the first 3 or 4 chapters, or maybe the first third or quarter of the next book is like Scotland, them linking back, because they needed to touch back in because they're now like a year and a half, 2 years out from their original orders. They need to go back home, get new supplies, get new clothes that aren't like the Chinese outfit scraps. Get new like orders, and probably get a row from what they shouldn't have been doing in this recent one before they jump back out again. But so the first book was the UK, the second book was in China, this third book was Istanbul mostly.
We had a brief bit in Germany-ish. The borders are a bit different to modern society, but the Germanic area.
But mostly they're talking about like Persia and all of that, isn't it?
Yeah, Middle East.
So that's kind of the area that's described that they're talking about. So that's where they end up after coming back from China. That's where they plop in and have shenanigans there. And I just think that's kind of when, like, the start of the book for this one was good because like, you could see their trajectory and where they were going. And there's aspects of it that I liked with them being in Istanbul. It wasn't necessarily that they were in Istanbul. There were so many interesting aspects of it with like the dragon's culture and things like that. But it's that kind of like middling-y bit where it's like there's not much, in my opinion, going on, and it's just lots of just chatting and discussing and sitting about, and it's the political parts and it's the maneuvering, and that's the bit that I kind of struggle with as like a reader and I get lost on. And then it's like the last bit when you kind of they've done what they needed to do there, and then they've moved on, and then you get the climax of the story. That's then the part that I kind of engage back in. So I don't know if you've got lots of thoughts about when they're in Istanbul. I just literally said Istanbul, I forgot. I think my favourite part was the dragons also followed religion.
Yes, their little praying mats. Fabulous. Absolutely amazing.
You know, right, we've compared dragons to cats before, right? But have you seen the cats that also get mini prayer mats?
No, I have not, but now I need to Google that.
I will send you pictures. But it's obviously cats sit on anything that isn't theirs. So they were stealing their humans' prayer mats, so they'd buy their cats like little miniature prayer mats. Cutest thing ever. I love it. It's so great. So that's why I imagined the dragon. And there's like and this tennis court size rock prayer mat. Yeah.
Yep.
I digress.
No, I mean, I really liked that they incorporated dragons with religion, even if you do have a tennis court sized prayer mat for them, which again, absolutely adorable. But yeah, I find that the thing that I like about the middling bits is that is where we're having historically relevant conversations. That's where we're actually touching on the themes. You know, in the beginnings of the books, it's just laying out plans, and then the end of the book is where all of those plans go and stuff themselves. So then everything goes badly. Hi, Abby. But yeah, I just find that with the middle bit, that's where we're actually having the conversations. So in the second book, that's when we were having the conversations about, Abby, you probably should read the books before listening to the spoilers.
But if you're not fussed, I'm not really bothered by spoilers, but some people are, so I get it. I look up spoilers because I'm a glutton for punishment.
You need a whole extra camera on the kittens.
I know. I'm just like, you obviously don't want to see my face, then that's fine. We'll just sit like this.
And what are your thoughts on the matter, Haku?
I know. Head empty, just vibes. He would like a fluffy prayer mat.
He wants his own prayer mat.
Yeah, of course. I don't think if I slouch, just feel like casual. If this is the angle you want to see today, this is how we engage the audience.
Yeah, I mean it worked. But like, ways, you know, Abby gets a cat, I get to talk to you. It's all good.
Like I really, really honestly do appreciate that part of the story. I just really struggle as a reader to stay engaged with it, because that then it feels kind of like a history book and a history lesson, and for me I'm just struggling to like engage with that part of the story when it's just like facts, and I don't know if it's just like my ignorance and not knowing much about that period of history as well is also maybe hindering my enjoyment, because I'm not getting like all the subtle nuances and stuff. I just find the middle part just really slow, and then I always just find the end is wrapped up too quickly. Because I think I said this about the second book as well. I was like, the end just seemed quite convenient, and it all just kind of worked out. And it's like, but that was like the really thrilling part. Like, why didn't you kind of like expand that out a wee bit and draw out and kind of pull that more into the middle and interweave it? I just feel like, I don't know. And again, it is probably me, because this series is so beloved and you're having a great time. And I think it is just that I'm not a reader of like historical.
Kind of seeming to feel the same. Like, it seems like it's not just you. I think that it is, again, like I've said this a million times. To me, I'm a themes girly. Like, if I'm going to take one thing away from a book, it's going to be the themes. Like, characters are there to present themes, plot is there to highlight themes. That's my pivotal thing. Like, I have a whole series on my channel specifically talking about themes. Like, it's my jam, and it's not something that gets talked about. I feel enough in books. Like, I feel like everyone's like, "Are you a plot-driven reader or a character-driven reader?" It's like, no, I'm neither. I am a theme-driven reader. So these books are my bread and butter. These books are literally there doing exactly what I'm out here reading for. And the reason that I read speculative fiction is specifically because it's giving you an alternate perspective on real world themes. And in this case, on top of that, we have real world historical events presented in a slightly different light. Like, I'm here for it. That's exactly what I'm here for. One of my favorite standalone Response to Future, which is for the exact same thing, as you said, like with the dragons being there. So it's not disrupting actual historical events, but creating core modern values to be incorporated. Once and Future Witches is the same. It has witches doing the fantasy part where you have the witch movement versus the suffragettes. It's not undermining the suffragettes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all the things that we also could have done
Yes.
if we had modern values. It's that simple. And so I'm here for that. That's literally what I am enjoying reading. And I feel like even the bits where I don't have the historical context, because I have very little knowledge of Chinese history of that time period. I can't even remember what the actual dynasty was. But my Chinese knowledge kind of is limited solely to medieval China, like post-industrial revolution China. No. So I didn't have much historical context for what was going on in China at the time. So that was just for me. It was really interesting that the author bothered to give a different perspective on a time period where we're so Eurocentric.
Yes.
We're actually leaving Napoleon behind and going elsewhere and having discussions around the British treatment of Asia, both in the second and third book. I am desperate to see what she does with Africa for that same reason.
I am really enjoying the jumping about the cultures, because they are well, we've only been in China and like Istanbul and a bit of Germany in book 3, but I am enjoying seeing how different everyone is, and like the culture and the dress and the food and just the attitudes, and it's all very slight and subtle, and I think it is just creating like the larger world.
I think that for me as well, having the conversations that she's having specifically through a British lens, because it could very easily become very Eurocentric, but having it through a very British lens in the sense of it being a criticism of imperialism, I think, especially during this time period where we're not quite at Victorian level peak imperialism, but we are very much in the throes. We are, like, I think a lot of people forget that a lot of the Napoleonic Wars was expansionism because of colonialism.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of the wars that, because they weren't on our doorstep, we forgot existed.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really eye-opening to me, because I really don't know anything. I just know, you just knew the name Napoleonic Wars, and you just, there was lots of the empire over the world, and there was lots of things going on, but I'm learning so much through all of this, and how interwoven everything is. And it's even just like that Lawrence and his team of British people, and now they have a couple of Chinese cooks along for the ride, can just kind of end up in any group in any place they've been at, and they're welcomed because they're part of the British Empire. And that in itself just really like, okay, because you know the black and white kind of facts of things like that, but to see it and be like, oh yeah, of course we're just going to accept you because you're obviously British, so you're obviously on our side. We wouldn't ever like have bad intentions towards you. Obviously some of them do, because they all have their own kind of agendas and that going on, but they obviously just appear in all these countries, and they are kind of partly welcome and expected and anticipated being there, and it's because of all the empire kind of connections. And so that's also like really kind of interesting to see. But yeah, I'm curious to see how all this kind of links in, and if it will have like an overall impact to how things end. Because obviously if Naomi Novik is kind of following the path of things that happened true to history, are the dragons actually going to affect the outcome? I'm interested to see, like, is it going to be, as books go on, there'll be a bigger and bigger kind of domino effect?
Yeah, no, exactly. And how much of history is she willing to change for the sake of the series versus how much of that is going to be just solely there for discussion?
Yes. Yeah, I'm curious to see that, if the balance stays the same all the way through and we still have the same kind of outcomes that we have in real life, and it is just like kind of like an allegory, as you say, because she could write it that way, because if every side and every part, every section of kind of the war has dragons, it also puts everyone on an even keel again. Still, you could still get the same outcomes. Just interested to see what she does with that, because obviously we're only 3 books in. There's obviously still a lot to go.
Yeah, we're only a third of the way through.
I know. Is it 9 books or 8 books? 9? 9. Yeah. So I'm interested to see.
It'll get bigger as well. Like I literally thought, oh, you know, it'll be like stinky ones and then it'll get bigger. But no, that they're all pretty dinky. I think the last one is a slight bit bigger, but I don't think any of them are like over 450.
Yeah, I think this next one's like almost 400 pages, and yeah, it's not really. But yeah, I it does embarrass me. Like not actually embarrass me, but like I'm like for such a short book for 360 pages, like how much I struggled to finish it. just finish it. Just finish
it. Though is that when you're doing buddy reads, you are also like trying to, and you know you got a live show and stuff. You're trying to compile your thoughts a lot more than just if you're reading for funsies, you know.
Yeah,
like inherently, even if you were just like real chill and like if I got nothing to say, I got nothing to say. Like none of us are like that. When we know there's going to be a camera pointed at our face and we're gonna have to say something, you're definitely looking at okay, what are my actual thoughts on what I've just read?
yes. Like well, I'm trying to
how did you like the feral dragons?
I love them. I absolutely love them because of course there's wild dragons still, and I was kind of hoping that something like that would happen, because it's not like I don't know why cows came to mind, but it's like we don't have wild cows anymore. They're all domesticated, really, like sort of thing, almost like I don't know. I just hoped that there would be some sort of feral kind of dragon because they are obviously sentient. I was quite curious to see how that would kind of go down, that they've got their kind of own garbled language and they've created their own kind of hierarchy and their own kind of structure and stuff. So I thought that was really cool to see that, and also that they respected Temeraire as well because he was bigger and smarter and all of that. Did you like them?
Yeah, no, I really like their incorporation because a lot of the time with dragon fantasy, you either have like feral dragons in the types of stories where you've got knights that need to go defeat the dragon, or you have the sentient dragons almost entirely or exclusively domesticated. Like you have the ones like Aragon, where the egg literally cannot hatch without a human, you know. So it's normally one or the other, and I really like that because she is discussing issues around freedoms, around domestication and ownership and your own independence, both from your nation, in the case of dragons, from their riders. It's a really important discussion to be had. And like if you're going to be incorporating us into human society, then why are we not fully integrated into human society? So that juxtaposition of feral dragons that have no contact with humans and no interest in humans.
Yeah. Because I think that also was it in. Yeah, it would have been in the second book when they're in China, obviously in Britain, and I think you get the impression that that's what they also do in kind of like France and in Europe, is that the egg hatches with the person they're wanting to force the human bond with, and they pair them up that way. And then we're in China in book 2, and it's like, no, like they get hatched, they get educated, and then they pick. And it's like years and years, and then they pick their human once they've had intelligence and they've had an education. And then obviously the ferals, like another way around, is like how they cope without having human contact at all. And I just think it's cool, and I'm really appreciating how different Neil Winovich is managing to make all the dragons across the world as different as the humans are across the world with all their languages and stuff. Yeah, and I like that. Obviously, the humans are used to the dragons kind of being paired up with a human and obeying the human. But as soon as they met the ferals, they only listened to Temeraire.
Yeah.
They've never been conditioned to take orders from humans. So they would only listen to a dragon that was, bigger than them kind of thing to enforce it.
So that's interesting discussion that we had in this one as well, because obviously you've got up in Scotland the kind of like known secret that they're actually being trained by a dragon, and then you have the Germans, who are very much like, no, you don't like dragons don't train themselves, to their own detriment. Like where Temeraire is like, this formation was clearly made by a human. This formation makes no sense for dragons.
And it failed in a fight.
On top of that, yeah, exactly. And you have then those humans mocking Napoleon because he is consulting with is it Lean? I don't know how you pronounce it.
Lynn? I've been saying Lynn in my head, but I know that's wrong. Lynn.
Connor, whenever you watch this, can you tell us?
The audiobook, yeah.
But yeah, like they're mocking Napoleon for consulting with a dragon, but they're losing because they're not listening to their dragons.
Yeah, to their own detriment, they would rather do it poorly and have the humans in control than take direction from a dragon. And again, just the idiocy of humanity, I suppose.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, and then I like the pharaohs kind of appearing at the end as well. But again, it just happens so quick at the end, and it's like, why are you so slow at this middle part of the book, and then you do this whole bit really quickly at the end, and I'm like, I want some adventure. I want action. Give me more battling dragons. Give me more dragon rescues. Like, don't give me it in 3 pages, and then you kind of just glaze over the end and just be like, yes, and then they appear there, and it's like, but that's the fun part to me. Obviously, I'm wrong, obviously, because so many people do love this series, but the pacing of it is a bit frustrating.
No, I mean, I understand that if you're not a history nerd, the pacing of these are actually not good. I can completely understand. Like, I've heard so many good things about it, but then I've been talking to a few friends over on like a different Discord, and they were all saying, yeah, like, I couldn't really get past book 2, or I DNF'd, or book 1 didn't grab me enough to continue a 9-book series or whatever. And I get it. I completely get it. If you're not a history nerd, or if you're not attached to the characters, or if like me, you're not like super into the discussions that are being had, the pacing, if you're a plot-driven reader, the pacing in this is not going to keep you. Like, this is not a book for plot-driven readers, because there isn't one in the middle. I'm assuming they're asking you. It's your channel.
They're just kind of write a book. I've thought about it. That might happen at some point in my life. I really don't need any more hobbies right now, though. I'll stick to analysing other people's books.
Yeah, exactly.
Although maybe I'll change how I review once I write that. Yeah. But I was going to say something and I forgot. Yeah, I think I'm going to try dabbling with the audiobook again for book 4 and seeing if that helps with like momentum more for like the middling part that I struggle with. We'll see, because I can just get it on
Everand.
The new name throws me off. Keep what I say script. They're all on there, so I'll just.
No, you can dead name script. It's fine.
I know. Yeah.
I think it's because it's name. You can dead name script. You can't dead name people, but you can dead name script. That's fine.
Yes. On Twitter, isn't it? So no one calls it X.
No one calls it X. It'd be really weird if I was like, so I was talking on X, and they're like, to your X? No.
It just sounds like an adult rated thing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem.
Anyway, random tangent. But yeah, the only thing for me is I couldn't do the audiobooks because we're traveling all around the world, and I don't care how talented your audiobook narrator is. Yeah. There is no way they're going to do the pronunciation diligence.
That's why. So I did do the audiobook partly for book. I don't even know, book 1 or book 2, and yeah,
some of the accents. Book 1 because you didn't like French accent.
Yeah, some of the accents were a bit. So yeah. I will try it again. We'll see. Because if we're going to Africa, that's asking for a bad time. So I'll give it a go. Yeah. I can get this for free. I'll try it out and see how I get on. Connor loves the audiobook narrator that he's found. So that's his whole reason for continuing the series, is he enjoys the.
I literally just want to continue listening to the audiobooks.
That I love that so much. Like, committed to reading another 5 books just because you like the narrator.
I mean, whatever works, you know. Keeps the conversation going.
I wanted to ask you, Tharky. What did you think of him? How did you like him?
I liked him. I actually liked his inclusion.
Yeah.
I think that he is a perfect subversion of stereotypes.
Yes, I liked him as well. I didn't like him for a brief moment in time, because that's what you're supposed to. You're supposed to be.
Yeah, of course.
You're led as the reader into not liking him for a period of time, and then you go, oh, same as Lawrence does, and you go backtracking. Oh, misread the intentions. But I really liked it, because it's very much like Lawrence and his crew are used to working collaboratively and in a team and stuff. And Tharky is like a solo person. He's just not selfish in a bad way, but he's just looking out for himself, and he's just doing everything that he can. So from an outsider's perspective, it looks like he's deserting and all of that. But no, I really enjoyed him, and I feel like we're gonna get like a wee sidekick in every book, because you know, it's an easy plot thing, because he obviously had the language of where they were, because otherwise you'd need the Lawrence or Granbeer that to be like a polyglot for all the places they're planning on visiting. So they need to have someone that knows the way about in languages and stuff. But no, I quite liked him.
I like gathering the team from around the world, because I feel like then when the discussions come into play, it's going to have so many more layers and so much more nuance to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, they need to be. They also need to be gathering people, because so many of them die all the time. Exactly. I mean, it is war. People die a lot, so they need to be picking up more strays and stuff.
I think in a way that's also working really well, because we start out with a team, but we don't really know a lot of the team. Like, we know like 4 people when we first set out from the whole team. So then, like, when someone dies off and they get replaced with someone that you've met and you've talked to, like, you've had a chance to, so you know the 4, and then you've got all of these other kind of background characters, and then one of the background characters dies off, and then but it's replaced with someone that throughout this book you've gotten to know them. It means that by the end of it, we're probably going to have a team of people that we know.
Yes.
Eventually, but we're just going to accumulate them slowly.
Yeah. You're going to hollow out like a core team, and the 2 kids, who probably won't be kids at the end of the series. They'll be kids. They'll both have their own dragons, and they'll be full-grown adults by the end of the series.
Quite possibly, if we're going at this rate, because like
that's
we've got if each book's a year, like it has been, then like it will have spanned pretty much a decade by the end of the series.
Maybe Lawrence won't have a core crew anymore, because they'll all have bonded to dragons from across the world. They'll have a big team of cross-world. I nearly said intergalactic. I'm like, no, that's definitely not the right.
Yeah, space dragons.
I'm in. That would be interesting. Helmets, spacesuits on. Like cross-world kind of dragon species. If they're collecting like eggs and dragons and ferals and all that from all over the world, and
yeah.
I mean,
how did you like? What's his name? The evil flipping Chinese dragon. Is it Lane? I still don't know how to pronounce his name. You said Lin, yeah?
I've been saying Lin. I know it's wrong. That's not a Chinese name, but
you like mean Chinese dragon?
Bye, happy
dragon.
Sorry, what was that? I got distracted by saying bye to Abby. How did you like?
How did you like mean Chinese dragon?
I think her inclusion's interesting, and I like the drama of it, because it's like a revenge plot, and I think it's good for kind of Temeraire to have like a nemesis kind of that pops up, because he is like so big and powerful, to have like a kind of equal rival about, is interesting. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I feel like I do like it, but I'm not really sure because we don't really fully know what she's doing yet. But obviously she's helping Napoleon, like that. Like he's riding on her, and that is, you know, she's pretending probably that she's bonded with him. But I'm just wondering what's in it for her. Like, obviously Napoleon is going to use her knowledge and use her to do his bidding as long as she'll obey, and it's mutually beneficial. But I just wonder at her kind of end game kind of thing.
I'm not gonna lie, she was probably the biggest downfall for me. I'm fairly certain the reason this was this stayed as a 4-star is partly her inclusion. Just because I found like I don't mind a revenge plot, but it didn't feel like there was any sentiment to the revenge. It was just like senseless. Like you understand why she would want revenge, but it never felt like it was coming from an emotional place. And that's the only kind of revenge plots that I actually care about, because just vengeance for anger's sake is really annoying to me. And therefore her motivations, though obvious, still felt shallow somehow to me.
Because she did say that she doesn't really care that it was Temeraire, like that's just how things go. And she did only seem upset very briefly. So it just makes me again wonder what her bigger picture is. I feel like if her arc kind of gets tied up in like the next book, I think it would have been like fine. But I do worry that she's just gonna stick around and just kind of
like she's gonna be Temeraire's main antagonist.
For every book, she's just gonna reappear and just conveniently be inconvenient to what they're doing.
Yeah. No, I definitely found her biggest like downside to this book for me. Because I wasn't buying into her enough as a character with individual feelings. She seemed more like a plot device. And when so much work has gone into all of these other characters, especially the dragons, you know, even like the baby dragon is Korea or whatever her name is. Is it Korea? Is Korea? I don't know how we're pronouncing that, but the baby dragon, like she's already got so much personality, and then she's just been and like have this like older dragon who is supposedly real smart, and like they have no personality. Like the poorly sick dragon in the first one had more personality. The ferals seem to have more personality. Just like
she's very one-dimensional. She's very one-dimensional, and and it does seem like she's just there to be kind of like a tool and a plot device, and it will be interesting to see kind of how she is interwoven in, and she might just end up being like the boogeyman, kind of like, because it puts Temeraire off his game if she's about, especially because he is like the biggest and baddest breed in the world. You know, if they're going to other places that only have little dragons, then he's not really got much pushback. So be interesting to see where she
I just don't want to just be an obstacle.
Because it's mentioned that she's about 30, so she should have more going on. I wonder if that was maybe like an afterthought with the series, like she was writing it and she just added that in, because she's not really made like a big changes to anything so far, has she?
No.
So I wonder if that's just something that was like an editing change, to be like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you had, you know, if it isn't as fleshed out as the rest of the books are.
Just something to rival Temeraire and not bother actually making him a character.
And maybe that's why she's not as fleshed out, because she didn't need to be if she was only going to be in book 2. Especially because like China very much don't leave China and they all just kind of stay there. So for her to be flying out and do what she's doing, it's a rare thing for them to do.
Yeah.
You mentioned baby Issachariah, the baby dragon. So they obviously went to collect eggs in this one, and they were looking after them, and they were trying to stop them from being hatching before they got back to the UK. But I mean, they were taking so many detours to get back to the UK. No wonder they hatched before they got back.
Yeah.
But she's great. Someone in the Discord, I love the reference to her, spiky and flighty.
Yeah,
I was like, that is the perfect description of her. She's tiny and she's got fire, and it seems like a menace already. I'm very glad Granby's got a buddy. It's because handfuls though.
Yeah, I mean, he needed a dragon that was like her though, in a way. Like he needed one that would like be able to counter his personality a bit.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, but I was glad to see it because it makes sense. But I felt a bit sad for Temeraire when he finally realised that it meant he was losing Granby as part of his crew.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And it's really sad. But we're excited for Granby, but then like obviously Temeraire is losing one of his people.
Yeah.
Like, I understand you. And then he's just a bit huffy about it. It's just like, he's such a teenager. It's really funny.
He is. He definitely is. In this one especially, I find there's an awful lot of just like, oh, for goodness sake. And it's like, okay, Temeraire, calm down, have a Snickers.
I think, yeah, because he picks up languages so well, he's learning more languages and understands more communication now than Lawrence does, in a way. He's really good at fighting, and he's got that kind of down, and he's learned a lot from like being in China. And I think he's realizing that he's smarter than most other dragons, and he's smarter and knows better than a lot of humans, especially when it comes to dragons. And I think that's going to be a hard thing. It already is a hard thing for him to kind of temper that kind of his thoughts and expectations, because every chance he gets, he's like, right, when we get back to the UK, when we get back home, we're going to change everything for the dragons. And Lawrence is like, we'll really try. But obviously that's not how it works. Like, I love you for crying, but no, love, you don't know how Parliament works.
Yeah, pretty much.
Even I don't know how Parliament works because I was a sailor. like,
yeah, diplomacy is for neither of them.
Yes. I know. Well, I think some of Lawrence's diplomacy in this one were a bit lacking.
Yeah.
He's a bit heavy-handed sometimes.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, because it makes sense in his line of work, everything needs to be direct. You can't give like a confusing statement on the ship. People will die.
Yes.
But obviously, when you're in Parliament, you need to say things in a way that is very much like, I mean this, but I don't want to look bad, so I must say this.
Oh, it's right at the end when they're getting the king and queen on the back of Temeraire to do the flight, and obviously they only understand like German and French probably, and so obviously Temeraire speaking in English. And like making a weird comment about the way the queen's dressed, because obviously she's not decked out in velvet and jewels in the middle of a field during a war. And he's like, where are all her jewels? And why is she dressed so unqueenly? He's like judging her fashion. And Lawrence is like mentally face palming and being like, I'm so glad she doesn't understand English.
Yes.
Hopefully. We might find out later books that she did understand and was just too scared of the dragon. Who knows?
Possibly. I mean, if you're going to get insulted, it might as well be by a dragon.
You're not going to say anything against it, are you?
No, exactly. You're going to be like, okay, you are naked. Why are you judging my clothes?
You've only got one jewel around your neck. I actually have thousands back in my castle. Palace or whatever. Yeah. So funny. Yeah, and then what did you think of, well, I've been talking about spoilers the whole way through, but at the very end, they escape using Chinese methods.
Again, I think that's one of the things I'm really liking about the way that the series ties in, because it's very much, it's very clear that Naomi Novik is very much wanting to decentralize Europe through a European-centric angle. So it's very much like, okay, but a lot of the stuff that make England is actually borrowed from elsewhere. So then incorporating things like that into the narrative of like, actually, I learned this thing, and it's applicable, and it turns out that people from other cultures are actually also smart and actually know their shit as well, is important. And I really like that she bothers to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's a very people who haven't ever traveled or visited other countries, or like, they just think there's only one way to do it, and it's the way that you've always done it. And it's like, no, just because you don't understand their language and their way of doing it and their culture doesn't mean it's wrong or incorrect. Or there might be better. You're just being probably racist.
Or just like suit that country for whatever reason. Like, it's something I've had to confront a lot here, because you get a lot of English people being like, oh, for goodness sake, why are all the shops closed? Because I'm in southern Spain, so in Andalusia, everywhere it's known, they have their siesta, and everything closes between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. And it's like, because in summer between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. in July and August, it is not going to drop below 40 degrees.
No one wants to be outside.
The sun, in the sun, you're not gonna find anything under 45 degrees in August and July. Like, it's not going to happen.
No, thank you.
No one's going to be outside. The only people outside are the English people, and the English people go out and they get burned and they're beetroot red because they didn't bring any clothes. And it's like, okay, have you considered that you are out there on the beach with your ice cream in the sea, nice and chill, and you're still feeling absolutely exhausted, probably a bit nauseous? You want someone to be working in those conditions?
Exactly, because they're selfish.
And it's like, exactly. So it's like, okay, so you think the Andalusians are lazy, fine. But the thing is in the UK, most like shops will be closed by 6 at the latest. While in Spain, shops will close between 2 and 5, but they're open till 9 p.m. in the summer.
Yeah. Because it suits the climate, it suits the culture, and it's appropriate to what's going on. But I really love them taking like the Chinese methods and bringing something new in and incorporating it in that way. I thought it was really clever. I thought it was done too quickly. I wanted to flesh out a bit more. If it just rushed, give me the action. Anyway, but no, I really liked it. And I think that's also something.
I feel like she probably knows that she's not very good at falling action.
Yeah, that's why it's very quick, because sometimes it is quite hard. And I guess it's just a me problem as well, because I find it hard to visualize. Like a lot of the aerial fights, like I kind of lose track of what's happening quite easily. Which I can think of it, but so she does kind of speed through it quite quickly. But I'm excited further down the books, if we are keeping country and world hopping. What other things from other cultures and world and countries that you introduce to other ones and carry about and stuff. Because Temeraire still eating Chinese food. Yep. So yeah, I like the bit where the spice was put on his belly so that it made his belly like he has a little spice tingle on his skin so that he didn't feel cold of the mud. I was like, okay, excellent. And then Lawrence's internal face palming is just like, why are you marinating the dragon? It was like, obviously that's not how you phrased it, but it was basically that. It was like, oh my gosh, you're just covering.
It was basically that. I mean, like, yeah, because that's the thing. It's like, not only do we have different cultures incorporated, but then also their relationship with the dragons, but also the fact that dragons come from different habitats. You know, the same way as if you live in North Africa, owning a husky is really irresponsible. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, okay, sure, but also Temeraire is not naturally from Europe, which means
Yep.
that he's not constructed for that climate.
Yeah. So they're,
And I like,
yeah. I was kind of hoping if in next books, like obviously next we're going to go to Africa, but if we do go to a cold climate, and the fire-breathing dragon, I don't know how to say her name, if she grows up a bit and does start accompanying them, I don't know if she would.
yeah.
You know, she could keep them warm by throwing fire on them all.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm excited to get back to the UK a bit and see some of the other dragons and Roland and all of that.
I'm excited to see what Temeraire becomes when he's back in England.
Yes.
He's had all these plans that Lawrence has only been able to postpone due to the fact that like, oh, well, you know, that's something we can discuss when we're there. But right now, I can't change how people from a country that's not mine treat their dragons. Can we start at home and go from there? And it's like, okay, cool. All of the postponement has been solely due to proximity. Like, he's not at home. He can't make any changes. It's not his nation. So when they get back, what now? is what I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to that as well. And I'm also really looking forward to him reuniting with his dragon friends and what they're thinking of what Temeraire's saying.
Yeah.
Because up until now, he's not managed to have conversations with many other dragons about it. Because like he was told off in Istanbul for doing it, because obviously that's not their dragons, and they didn't really understand what he was talking about anyway. It was obviously the norm in China, so it wasn't really necessary. But what are those dragons, Maximus and Lily and all of that, his friends, what are their opinions going to be, and how receptive are they going to be, and how I'm not concerned, right, because it's a book, right, but I'm worried how the humans will treat Lawrence and Temeraire, because they might blame Lawrence for Temeraire being so radical.
Yeah.
And obviously Lawrence is just off being in really, really hot water. And that's why they had to go to China in the first place. So I'm like, what is their reception actually going to be when they touch back down in Scotland and in England? Like, how's that even going to go? I'm curious to see.
I mean, thankfully, I feel like Naomi Novik has proved time and time again that she's not going to be driving long-standing permanent wedges between Temeraire and Lawrence.
Yes.
Which I am really, really hoping perseveres throughout the whole series, because that is something that, like, I don't want the Dragon Rider / Dragon third act breakup. I don't want it to. Do you know what I mean, though? Like, you know, in Aragon, it happened. In like several other books I've read that have like sentient dragons.
Yeah,
that's a very common thing, where you have the human and the dragon that are always together, and therefore they end up fighting, and they're like, "Fine, go away," and then they don't speak to each other for days. And like, I don't like that notion, and I don't want that to happen between Lawrence and Temeraire, and I'm really hoping she sticks to her guns on that one.
I really don't want it to happen either. I have a feeling it will, though. Sorry, that's the cat scratching the cat box, if you can hear that.
I don't know if that comes through. Presented with enough opportunities for her to have done some kind of.
I know, but there's still 6 books. And I feel like there's still 6 books, and their biggest issue hasn't really started yet, because that's going to be when Temeraire does literally hit the ground running and really want to enact change. And I think that's when there is a possibility of that kind of tension to be a bit of a rupture. Like, I can imagine that maybe being one of the books is a bit of time and a bit of conflict between them in terms of how they're wanting to.
I think one of the things that I'm appreciating about this is most of their conversations and most of their disputes are resolved intellectually. So any disagreement that they've had has been a conversation. And the thing is that most of the time those kind of disruptions stem from lack of communication, which they are not lacking in. Maybe even when they don't see eye to eye, or even when Temeraire is like, why do we have to do it this way? And Lawrence is like, because this is how we as humans do things. And him being like, but I'm a dragon. Why do I have to do things the way humans do them? All of those conversations, even when they're not necessarily seeing eye to eye, it has always been intellectual. It's not been overly emotionally driven. So there is the hope.
I know. I really hope that it doesn't happen.
I don't know. I think that it would be a little bit of a character assassination if she did do it through manipulation. The sneaky someone else comes in and plants an idea, because again, that was rife for it in book 2 with the prince, with the Chinese prince. Like that was rife for it. It was right there, like him saying all these pretty words in Temeraire's ear to drive him away from Lawrence. And Temeraire was like, I'm gonna go talk to Lawrence about this. So there is a hope.
I'm really hoping it doesn't happen, because I think it will just cheapen the relationship they've built. And I like the fact that it's the two of them against the world. I really hope that stays true throughout it all, because it's their story and their love and care and respect for each other, because they are so quick to apologize to each other and make up and not have any hard feelings. And I really like and appreciate that kind of
their willingness to understand the other's position.
And I hope that only grows as Temeraire gets older as well, because he's still like a very young dragon himself, even though he's massive and fully grown. What is he now? Is he 2?
2, yeah.
A bit. So he's still very young.
The thing, like, I'm thinking, like, if it's not happened now, like, surely when Temeraire's older and a lot of this like immaturity and impetuousness goes, when he has been exposed more and more to the world, when both of them actually have been exposed more and more to the world and other cultures and other values, it's going to then be very hard for Naomi Novik to incorporate any kind of dispute between them.
Yeah, it's going to be really out of character. And I really hope it doesn't happen. I just thought there was a possibility. But yeah, I'm very hopeful.
Yeah. She seems
Have you got any... Yes. Have you got any final thoughts? Anything else you want to bring up for Black Powder War? I keep wanting to say Black Power. Black Power War. Black Powder.
Black Power War.
I really like the cover I've got for this, because it has like a bit of it that went on.
Yeah.
It's quite cool.
Got actual artwork. I mean, these do, but they're like absolutely microscopic. Like it's literally just in there. That's the only artwork. You get a dragon and then a tiny piece of artwork in the middle. I feel like a canon does not best describe this book either. Like it's like, why would you choose that to be the thing that represents this book? Like I know it's Black Powder War. I get it. But why the canon? It's weird.
That doesn't seem to be the main item.
Sure, in the ending. Relevant.
Yeah.
First 2/3 of the book. No, really.
No. No. Waiting for the canon to drop, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no other thoughts. Again, like I liked the history of this one. This one was the one where I had really identifiable sections of history as well, like especially the last battle in the book was a noticeable and memorable battle in the Napoleonic Wars. So if you're interested in the Napoleonic Wars, it's probably one of the better ones, because it is very much like, it's not vague random battles that kind of just fit the vibe. It's very much like, no, here are real world people with real world events, and this is how it actually went down. We're just adding dragons into the mix, which I thought was really cool. But aside from that, I don't really have any other thoughts.
No.
And you?
Yeah, no, I think I've said all my feelings. I need more plot. But I'm still enjoying the experience, but I do struggle with reading them. But I think it helps that they are quite short books. If these had been like traditional fantasy length that we're seeing current day, and if there were 500 and 600 pages, I don't think I would be able to continue on because the slower parts would be even slower. But I think the fact that they are between like 300 and 400 pages makes them manageable and doable, and I'm still enjoying my time reading them. Yes, I think that's our thoughts for Black Powder War.
I literally just put it in front of my face at this point. I have no idea where to put it in the camera.
I know. It's the reverse. I just can't.
Yeah.
So we're nearly in June, and in June we're going to be reading the 4th book, Empire of Ivory.
My favourite coloured one of the whole series.
Yes, it's like a really, really lovely purple. And like I always appreciate a numbered spine.
Yeah, numbered spines.
10 out of 10. So yeah, feel free to join us if you haven't started already. We've got a link to the Discord where we're discussing each book. As we said for every live, if you're somehow made it an hour into this live show and you haven't read any of these books, you should think about giving them a go. Join us in the Discord. Even though we've already read the first couple of books, you can see what we've previously discussed about the books, and we will still keep engaging if you're jumping back to earlier books and talking about them. We're still going to be quite active in the Discord, so don't feel like it's too late to join in. The books are very manageable lengths, so you can kind of catch up whenever you like.
Yep, exactly.
So that'll probably be us for tonight.
Yep. Good chat.
Thank you for joining me. Always a good chat. Okay. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you the next time. Bye.
Bye.